welcome to the reverse engineering session today. Why reverse engineering? I'm going to explain this in some other session. Okay, but why I'm coming back to this session explaining reverse engineering is because yesterday I was in our session 5 for SSJS enablement. In one of the example, I was showing how you can create an entry event, okay, for a journey, and a very basic entry event. And when we were creating an entry event, the entry event was quite interesting to know, right? And I'll start from there, and then I'll move forward with different entry events, and then it will not be a long session, it will be a very small session. And in other videos, if I'm able to create, then I'll show you what reverse engineering I mean and how it can be useful for understanding the nitty-gritty using SSJS REST API in Marketing Cloud. Fine. So this was one of my entry event SSJS code, and if I use this code, let's say I'm going to make few changes. So this is my basic journey, reverse engineering. Let me keep it simple. There's the key I'm giving, and let's keep the name also the same. And this basically this line number 22. Okay, it basically defines a very basic structure. Here I am given a type at API event, and we'll come to each points whatever is necessary in another example. Right, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to my code resource, okay, and here in the entry event source, I'm going to basically delete everything and paste the new code. I'm not going line by line. If you want to understand what I've explained, what are all these different lines of code here, you can watch my previous video on session 5 and you'll come to know about this. Okay, so here I'm trying to create a simple journey, okay, with the name will be basic journey reverse engineering, and I'm giving a simple trigger definition, okay, which is the entry event. So let me save this, publish this, and let's run this. Fine, so I got 200. So my journey got created called basic journey reverse engineering. Let me go and see, right? So this is the basic journey reverse engineering. And if you see the entry point, see the logo, okay, it looks quite different from what we have here in the entry source. Okay, if I try to open, I see a lot of things. You have properties, select D, okay, contact filters, and so on. But I don't have any options to basically edit it. Fine. So creating an empty cell is not that useful, right? So let's go back and see if I have to create, let's say if I delete this, okay, and let's say I have to create a data extension, and from the data extension, if I go and try to select, right, so I can also have, say, recurring or run once. So let's make it recurring. So this is 27. Let's make it 237. Okay, Delhi and neighbor, and just try to save it. Then we have this contact evaluation. Let's, for example, select this and save this. Fine. So basically, through an API, I also want to make a similar kind of a entry event, not the one that we did previously, right? So I'm going back to my source code resource. Okay, now Before moving there, we see there are a lot of entry events, right? So entry source are different API, audience, cloud pages, and whatnot. So here I have another function that I've created, okay, another SSJS code. And this is my code, okay. So all these are explained in my previous video. You can go. I have only added one more code, one more content block, that is get journey triggers. I'll explain that in this session. Others I'm not going to explain. Okay, here this is the payload. I'm giving the data journey name as reverse engineering /t because the source is the data extension. Okay, name and the key are the same. Description I'm given as reverse engineering. Okay, this entry mode is like I'll go there. It's like whether it is no entry or entry anytime or entry only after exit. So if you say single entry across all versions, it means entry only after exit. If you say multiple entries, it means entry anytime. And if you say one and all, it means no entry. Okay. So journey builder, we are selecting as a multi-step journey. This is for the folder where I want to create that particular journey. It is currently being created under my folder named Sasi. Okay. And here the trigger is basically the definition of the trigger which I want to have. So as I said, we have different options for the entry source, right? So for that I have created a function. So here in the code snippet, if you say get journey triggers, let me copy this and let me open another tab. Okay. So here if you see, if I have to create a data extension entry event, I'll call this function get trigger as data extension. If I have to create a entry event with API event, I'll call this function. If I have to create a contact event, then this. Okay. If Google Analytics, I'll call this. And if Salesforce data, I'll call this. If an inbound event, I'll call this. Okay. And if it's in the API messaging app, then I'll call this. Right. I'm not going into the every nitty-gritty. I'll just show you few differences. Okay. The most striking feature is this type. Okay. The type in the trigger here for data extension has to be email audience. If it is an API event, it has to be API event. Okay. If this is a contact event, then it has to be a contact event. And if it is a GA, it still considers to be as an email audience. Okay. And is a Salesforce data, it's just called event. And inbound also is called event. Okay. And for messaging API, in-app messaging also is called event. Fine. The only thing, the other striking is basically you have the icon URL. So this is brought from the database server of the marketing cloud. So this one is basically pointing the icon that is coming is for the data extension. Okay. So for the API, they have this journey builder API event. Okay. And similarly, we have this icon for journey builder event person and so on. Okay. That does not impact much of my use case. But first, let's go to the data extension one. So here I have called get trigger as data extension. Okay, I'm calling this journey as reverse engineering DE. Okay. If you want to know more, this one is quite interesting here. Okay. So if you go to journey settings, and here what is saying is, let me go to the journey setting first. If I go to the journey settings, and inside the journey settings, here the default email address is pointing to email, and the default mobile is pointing to mobile. because I have this mobile and the email in this particular data extension, right? So that's what it denotes here. Okay, this is basically this part. Okay, or I'll consider D audience. This part is coming from the event definition ID of the key. If you see, let's go here. Okay, this is the event definition key. So this is getting picked up. Okay, and they have that something called event dot that event definition key dot email. So from the data extension is picking this particular attribute. So similarly for our event for mobile number, for this data extension is going and fetching this mobile number, right? So this code is written here in my cloud page. Okay, so let me save this and publish this, and let's hit the run. Right, so this is created called reverse engineering D. Okay, and if I go back to, let's go back to the folder. So you'll see reverse engineering D is getting created. Okay, and see the same data extension. If you see, this is journey builder 1. Okay, this is journey builder 1 that is being selected, and the time schedule has been selected. Okay, and the same settings here. If you see, go to the settings. So here entry only after exit. It means I said single entry across all versions. Okay, and this email and mobile is because of this default property. Okay, so we have created another journey based on the D. Okay, now let's go to the other one. If I have to create an API event, let me copy this and let me open another window saying this. Okay, so more or less all the codes are same. Okay, the only thing that I'm changing is the key. Yeah, I call this journey as a reverse engineering API event. The key and the name I'm giving the same. Okay, it's similar to what I create the data extension with the same external key. I'm following the same practice. Okay, the only line I'm changing is this triggers, which basically is get triggers as API event. So if you see this one, right? So get trigger API, I'm calling this function, and I'm returning this particular payload. Fine. So let me save this and let me try to run, publish and run this. Okay, so reverse engineering API event has been created. Okay, and let me go back. Okay, so if you see API event, okay, open this. So this is also utilizing the same data extension, that is journey builder 1 data extension. Okay, and this particular entry source has been created. Okay, if I go and see the journey settings, see this is by default is selecting from the definition of that entry, but I didn't specify the contract entry, right? So here if you see, I haven't mentioned the entry mode. Okay, this is a payload. So this was a very simple payload. I didn't mention like the old one here. Okay, if I go back here, I didn't mention, but here I had mentioned the entry mode and the definition type. So this was not basically set, right? So this is how I'm basically designing journey builder via REST API, and I'm not yet able to basically run this particular code for other entry events like contact event and other events. I'm still exploring and still learning. If any of you have basically designed this for REST API, you can reply to this video or comment or DM me, I'll be happy to learn from you. And as I'm a vivid learner, I'm not an expert, right? So I'll look forward to those people who have worked on this. And if you find this video useful, please like and give us some kind of feedback. I'll be very happy to listen to your feedbacks or comments, whatever you have. So thank you for listening to this session. I'll stop this session. Meet you all in another video. Thank you.